In 2016, the Democratic Party was coming off an 8-year high of ruling American politics. 8 years prior, Barack Obama had burst onto the scene as an unstoppable force, defeating John McCain in a landslide victory. With his cool, calm, charismatic charm, he quickly became one of the most popular presidents in recent history. He promised health care for all, passed Wall Street reform, and took out bin Laden. As his presidency was winding down, Democrats knew they needed another sure thing to keep their party going. So who did they turn to? Hillary Rodham Clinton. The former First Lady, New York Senator, and Secretary of State would enable the Democrats to nominate the first female president in American history. And to make things even sweeter, they'd be running against this guy. The Democrat elite's plan to retain power was all coming together, except for one little thing.
1, 2, you know what to do. Feel the burn. Feel the burn.
That's right. A previously little-known senator from Vermont had started a populist movement that was taking over the country. He went from an unknown to a bona fide folk hero almost overnight. The Hillary team started to get nervous as his popularity grew. So what did they do? They cheated. As the Democrat elite transitioned from Obama to Clinton, there was a minor problem within the Democratic Party. At the end of his presidency, Obama had left the party $24 million in debt, $15 million owed to the bank, and more than $8 million owed to vendors from his 2012 campaign. Simply put, the DNC was broke and had no funds leading up to the 2016 election. That was until a friendly donor swooped in to bail him out. And you know who that was? You guessed it, the Hillary Clinton Victory Fund. In an unprecedented move, the Clinton campaign bought out the DNC's debt and gave them millions of dollars in loans to keep them afloat. They now had the power to hold the DNC hostage on the loans they had given them. The Victory Fund that was supposed to be for whoever the Democratic nominee was had now become a fund solely for Clinton. And what did she do? She used it all, of course. From the $82 million, only 1% was allocated for other down-ballot candidates like Bernie. The Bernie campaign soon realized the vast money laundering scheme was a calculated strategy to throw the nomination to Hillary. And that's exactly what happened. Even with hijacking all of the campaign funds, the popular vote showed Bernie neck and neck with Clinton and enough delegates secured to win the election. In their final act against the will of the people, the DNC used the power of their superdelegates, arbitrary voters who can select whoever they choose. 438 of those superdelegates voted for Sanders, while 676 went to Clinton. The Democrat elite had successfully subverted the will of the people and cheated their way to a Clinton nomination. And the worst part? They would go on to do it again and again and again.
The Clinton campaign did rig the presidential nominating process. Very quickly, Senator, do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes. We now have black and white evidence that the FBI interfered in the 2016 election.
Front pages of the New York Times, Democratic establishment very nervous. Bernie Sanders could win the whole. We were doing very well in the polls, and they said Bernie shouldn't be the candidate for a variety of reasons. We don't want him the candidate. Drop out.
Joseph R. Biden Jr. is elected the 46th president of the United States.
It was the CIA this time that got involved in the 2020 election.
President Biden had people within his White House ordering the social media sites to censor me and to deplatform me 37 hours after he took the oath of office.
The former president of the United States, now a convicted felon.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is.
No, that's supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
Seems like the only thing that the Trump and Biden campaigns can agree on is they don't want you on the debate stage.
If Fox News lets me on the stage for the debate, I will win the election.
My president, my commander-in-chief, is targeting me as a potential domestic terrorist.
They see Bobby Kennedy out there. They won't even give him Secret Service protection, which is just fucking egregious.
First, we had the letter from the President of the United States saying that he was going to step aside in this race.
The President, in a tweet, just announcing that he is offering his full support and endorsement for Kamala Harris to be the nominee.
I really believe Kamala is an illegitimate candidate. You know, she didn't run in the primary. They didn't have an open convention.
There's almost a 0% chance she would have been the nominee. If Joe Biden had said, we're going to have an open primary, Kamala would have gotten beaten.
A judge ruled that independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s name should not appear on New York's ballot.
To have this judge try to prevent you, the people, from voting for this candidate at a time when we're told democracy is at stake and that the Democrats are the ones that are going to rescue it. They're the people trying to keep him off the ballot. It's sick.
If you give a government license to silence its critics, it now has license for any atrocity.
Dear Kamala Harris, let's get one thing crystal clear. The vast majority of American men have no issue with electing a female president. Our issue lies solely with you. You were second in charge of California for 13 years.
As California's Attorney General, Harris promoted enforcement of a law that allowed prosecutors to seek jail time for parents of truant kids.
As a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, how can you lock parents up?
If you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
I opened the door and I see at least 7 or 8 cops that wanted to arrest me. As a matter of fact, they did.
And frankly, you know the prosecutors in my office who volunteered to do this? My homicide prosecutors, my gang prosecutors. And they went over there and I said, when you go over there, look really mean.
She had me arrested and prosecuted because my handicapped daughter was sick in the hospital and had missed some days of school.
I learned that with the swipe of my pen, I could charge someone with the lowest level offense. That person could be arrested, they could lose time from work, and their family maybe lose their job. They'd have to come out of their own pocket to help hire a lawyer. They'd lose standing in their community.
I lost my job and couldn't pay rent, and we got evicted.
Weeks later, I could dismiss the charges, but their life would forever be changed.
I became homeless. We had to move into a motel.
All because of the swipe of my pen.
I don't agree what Kamala Harris did to my mom, and I don't agree with what she's done to other parents as well.
You were second in charge of the United States for 4 years.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Inflation is hitting the highest level in 39 years. A record high number of illegal crossings.
Crime's been surging across the nation.
Huge spikes in homicide. Could we be heading toward World War III?
After 17 years of failed leadership, you are now asking us to trust you as first in charge of our country.
I am concerned and focused on big issues. Elementary and middle school truancy is actually a big issue. If we're trying to save the state money, because of truancy, California public schools lose $1.4 billion a year in funding. I want money.
My message to all Americans, do not trust Kamala Harris.
As men and protectors of women and children, you are simply a risk we are not willing to take.
Paid for by Maha Alliance.
Alright, how's it going, my magnificent sons of bitches? And this is probably going to be my last video on the election. Travis said I should go ahead and do a video based on this election. Go ahead and tell you exactly why the Democrats are going to go ahead and get defeated. Alright, so, the Democrats have not had a platform. They haven't had a platform, and in fact, the one attack that they've really had, you've had your little fucking kangaroo court show trials that nobody's buying into, much like your January 6th shit. Nobody is buying into your little fucking propaganda anymore. It's all dead. People already know it, and it's basically seen as a running fucking joke. Every time you get one of your shills out here, like Destiny or somebody, January 6th, nobody's going to take you seriously. Nobody's taking you seriously. I guarantee you don't get that much traffic. You've killed off a lot of the traffic, and nobody really respects your propagandist anymore. You just look largely like a joke. So, really, for the most part, the only thing that the Harris campaign has seemed to come up with is that everybody called the bitch Kamala Harris whenever she was first selected by Joe Biden as his VP pick. It was Kamala Harris. Nobody ever said anything, even the news. Everybody called her Kamala Harris. You know, from what I've seen, you know, everybody said, oh, that's cool. Kamala Harris is her name. Kamala, the great Kamala. Everybody loved James Kamala Harris. You know what I'm saying? So I meant, you know, whenever, you know, Trump got in and started calling her Kamala, it's Kamala. It's Kamala. My name is Kamala Harris. My name is Kamala Harris. It's Kamala Harris. And they're all fucking crying and shit. You need to say her name. It's Kamala Harris. Say her name right. Kamala Harris. Well, it looks like Donald Trump is about to pull out his big fucking thing and come over her ass right now. You know, because ultimately, from what I've seen right now, is that the Democrats have nothing. They absolutely have fucking nothing. What are they running on? I mean, you're running on what? It's funny because I see the Colin Allred shit with the whole Eugene Carroll ripoff Nancy O girl. It's like, I can't. And it's almost like they're jobbing. This is what the Democrats are doing. They're jobbing. And ultimately, I believe that the Democrat Party is dead. I believe, long live the new Democrat Party. The Republican Party is the new Democrat Party. This means that we actually need another party to go ahead and be legitimate competition, a more conservative party, preferably a more anti-federalist party, to go ahead and challenge the, you know, power of the Republican Party that are actually posing as conservatives. But with that being said, most of the Democrats, like Tulsi Gabbard and like, you know, RFK, kind of migrating over there to the Republican Party. We can see that it's becoming more of a Democrat Party. So what's the fucking Progressive Party? So you might as well not even call this shit the Democrat Party anymore. They haven't been the party of democracy since LBJ. You sure as fuck haven't had any of the popular votes. All of your popular votes have been synthetic. You've needed the State Department to go ahead and rig. And the only reason that the State Department rigs the shit for the Democrats is because they're fucking totally dependent on you know, higher taxes, and their whole livelihood is dependent on how much taxes that you can go ahead and drain out of the citizens at large and out of private industries and put in their own fucking personal pockets. When you have these exorbitant amount of fucking pensions that are attached to them. This is why their projects like fucking ACA, the Affordable Health Care Act, absolutely fell. You're not going to get any fucking universal health care through fucking socialism. It doesn't work that way. Now, I could probably do a plan, and I've had plans out there, and I've debated people on how to get, you know, universal coverage of health care without having to do government-controlled bullshit, because the government-controlled bullshit will never fucking work, and you'll never get any kind of real quality health care out of it. You're more than likely going to get more of a euthanasia program, which we can see that the left totally is on board with, you know what I'm saying? However, that being said, I've totally destroyed fucking these progressive leftists on the legitimacy of their healthcare plans. And it's not about healthcare for the fucking progressive left. It's all about commie care. It's all about government-controlled care. It's about hijacking 1/6 of that economy. So what's the other thing that they're going to run on? Is it abortion? Is that it? You don't give a fuck about people's rights to choose. You didn't give a fuck whenever the vaccine was out there. You sure didn't give a fuck about whenever it was the commie cough. You didn't give a fuck. And like I said, even if you're that naive to go ahead and vote for the Democrats based on abortion, if that's your one wedge issue, then you're wasting your fucking time. Don't even go out and stand 30 minutes in line to go ahead and vote with all the people that's like, yeah, make America great again, with your little fucking Kamala Walls shirt on, because you're wasting your time. One, the Supreme Court already overturned that decision. They're not going to be able to do fuck all. Colin Allred is absolutely fucking lying to you. Second off, name one state that's even banned abortion. Where is there a ban on abortion? To me personally, I think it should be considered, you know, infanticide myself. That's what it should be considered ever since you went ahead, you made vaccine mandates that made abortion become infanticide, alright? It's not a, oh, right to privacy anymore, which protected your shit. I don't give a fuck what that clown Destiny says. You don't have that right anymore. You went ahead. You don't believe in that right. So therefore, you can't use that as an argument. You can't use the right to privacy protecting your right to have an abortion anymore. So with that being said, there's nothing that they're going to be able to fucking do. If that's the one issue that you're voting for, well, I'm here to tell you. What you're really voting for is higher taxes. That's what you're fucking voting for. What you're really voting for is all these fucking wars that they want to go ahead and get into to go ahead and take down some of the population, because they're fucking complete and utter sociopaths. You look at how they're trying to pop off all these little wars so they can go ahead and justify that income tax. They've got to justify taxing your income. And the only way that they could justify in taxing your income is to go ahead and have more war, whether it's a proxy war, whether it's a war, and I guarantee you people are getting fucking tired of it. The Muslims are getting tired of it. They don't want to fucking support you. The Jews are getting tired of it. They don't want to support this shit anymore. They quite frankly, they're tired of getting bombed. Just so you can go ahead and collect some more money to go ahead and fund some European healthcare that, we don't even benefit from. Which, by the way, whenever you clowns over there are like, you look over there at these Scandinavian countries and they got all their subsidized. If we pulled our agreements out, if we stopped our military spending, like you said, we need to stop our military spending and put that into healthcare. If we did that, then those countries would go bankrupt trying to subsidize whatever they call a universal healthcare. Because they go ahead and use our funding of their military to go ahead and subsidize their health care. And that's just the way that it is. So, there's nothing that the Democrats are running on. They have no platform at all. What are you going to do? Oh, market manipulation, market control? You're going to go ahead and, do price controls so people... There's no way that anybody in the world listening to Kamala thinks that anybody in her administration or that she would even remotely surround herself with, people that she would remotely surround herself with, anybody in the Democrat Party, all the people that are speaking over there in your little fucking party has enough fucking brain powers to even think about considering even coming up and saying, yeah, we just need to do some price gouging controls. We need to control the market. That's absolutely fucking not. All right? Now, you want to go ahead and do, commies used to be a lot braver. You know what I'm saying? Now commies are like, oh, well, we can just go ahead and say we did something. Good luck with that, because you've got about, 18 million pissed off vets that are really just waiting to pop it off. So, whenever I look at this election and I look at the statistics, I don't take the polls. I don't give a fuck about the Quinnipiac or the Nate Silver poll. I don't give a fuck at all, because those people live in an echo chamber, right? They live in a cul-de-sac. They have no fucking clue what's going on outside, and they damn sure don't take any polls that are any kind of legitimate. These polls are usually maintained on college campuses, or they're run through their predisposition audience where they can manipulate the results. So let's make one thing perfectly fucking clear. The Democrats have not been the Democratic Party, the party of democracy, since the 1964 with LBJ's election. Ever since the desegregation, they have never been the party, with the exception of maybe the 2008. That was the one time that a Democrat president truly, honestly, without rigging, and I don't count the fucking Jimmy Carter election because that was rigged. It was absolutely rigged. And I don't count the Al Gore election because that one was obviously rigged too. I mean, the reason why Clinton won is only because of Ross Perot. And if you took those states and they'll say, no, the votes would have been distributed equally. No, the votes would have went largely for George Bush. They wouldn't have went equally because the Democrats are not conservatives. They're progressives. All right? They're progressive. This was back from Ann Richards. So the people that didn't want us to get involved in NAFTA and all these free trade agreements that voted for Ross Perot are not going to vote for Bill Clinton that wants to subsidize all of this shit and do all these subsidy programs. They're not going to vote for a progressive, all right? They would just go ahead, bite their teeth and go ahead and vote for George Bush, because George Bush was the Republican, and George Bush would have been a considerably more conservative than Bill Clinton. Alright, so you can go ahead and take those elections from Bill Clinton and probably give them to George Bush and Bob Dole, respectfully. So that means that the Democrats probably don't win an honest election if they don't rig it against Richard Nixon, because I guarantee you, you probably don't get Reagan until 84. And then, Reagan, he would have probably run until 92. Then you would have probably got Bush, and then you would have probably got another, you would have probably got Dole maybe, or you would have got Bush Jr. We would be just coming out of Bush Jr., Maybe Barack Obama. Barack Obama still would have won. That would have been the only candidate that Democrats would have won. Everybody thought, well, you know what? He is a black candidate. Maybe the Democrats have learned not to be as racist and fucking insensitive as they are. But the more you live along amongst Democrats, the more you know that's wrong. So, looking at these statistics, looking at the metrics on the internet, I see the numbers anywhere from the popular side. This is from people that are going ahead, going to these polls, filling in, taking the time to go ahead and put in a vote to see exactly where the society is. I see it every time, anywhere from 77% for Donald Trump to 23% to Kamala Harris, all the way up until like 96 to 4% for Kamala Harris. Trump is beating Kamala Harris 96 to 4% in some polls. With the polls like Elon and even Bryan Cranston, the guy who did the other 98%, Trump is leading well over 70% over Kamala Harris. So what's this mean for the Democrat Party? Now, here's where it becomes the issue, alright, is that you've got a Democrat nominee. She didn't win a primary. She's, ultimately bowed out of the 2020 race. So she's not that likable. Everybody's calling it a coup. Biden wasn't popular, and the reason why they removed him is he was about to lose some states. Kamala hasn't done anything to go ahead and, appease any of this. It's just been fucking it's just been complete and utter rhetoric. It's been just ridiculous jargon, and nobody can understand what the fuck she's saying. So let's go ahead and start with this map right here, and I'm going to go ahead and explain to you exactly why, because everybody's going to say I'm hyperbolic, but I'm going to explain why. So we're going to go ahead and give the Donald Trump the states, and like I said, it's going to be a while, because it's going to be, I'm going to wait a little while to get to those swing states. But let's go ahead and go for the states that we know that Donald Trump is going to win. What the hell? Alright, I'm back. So I had to bring back the map back up. I'll just have to end up splicing this together. So let's go ahead and go to the states that we know Donald Trump will win. We'll go ahead and give him Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, South Dakota, and I'm not going to go ahead and give Kamala any of the states that I think she's going to win right now, because I'm going to go through and explain why I think that this is going to be a landslide. It's going to be on the landslide on the perspective of a Ronald Reagan type of landslide. So we can go ahead and give her Idaho, or give him Idaho. We can go ahead, you know what, I'm going to give him Missouri, Iowa, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, which I know everybody thinks, he was a swing state. No, it wasn't. We'll go ahead and give him Florida, if I can get it. Florida. Of course. Pain in the ass. It's going to be a pain in the ass. Only problem with doing this on my birthday is I get a lot of messages. Georgia, which I don't care, I love y'all anyway, so. North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, make sure, and Alaska. We got to give them Alaska. So as we can see, we got 245 so far for Donald Trump. And these are going to be like not up for contest. A lot of people try to pretend like they are, particularly your remedial polls like the Grove Prom Thought. They're trying to make it sound like it's going to be really close. They're trying to keep you in suspense. They don't understand that people are getting fatigued with all the bullshit going on, that we're just getting tired of it and we want the problem solved. So if you think that people are invested in your little fucking political dramas, people are getting tired of it. So, now, here's where it comes in. You got a bunch of swing states, alright? You got a bunch of swing states going on. So, I mean, this ends up being the problem. Is that Kamala Harris is from California. And I could tell you that, from personal experience, is that, West Coast Democrats and East Coast Democrats, you know, whether their party, you know, whether they're extreme, they don't get along. You know what I'm saying? I think most, West Coast Democrats see East Coast Democrats as are, kind of stuck up and conceited and of themselves and stuff like that. And East Coast Democrats see West Coast Democrats as kind of bougie and superficial, which is exactly how Kamala Harris, goes over. And so we go ahead and we look at these swing states, all right? So here's the deal. I'm going to go ahead and give Trump Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So we'll go ahead and look up here. He's already got 289. Everything else is just up to practice. You know what I'm saying? It really is. So, we know that Kamala has to win something, right? So we'll go ahead and give her D.C. And D.C. will never flip. It'll never flip because it is pretty much a communist state right now in and of itself. It's like a communist city-state. They rely on government subsidies. D.C. relies on high taxes to go ahead and fund their, like I said, extravagant lifestyles. So, with that being said, here ends up being the deal. Is that, these metrics and these polls are based off of two discrepancies. The first discrepancy is the polls that they're doing, these college institutions are doing it, and they're biased anyways. So, you got to give about 4 to 5% to the Democrats because they're always going to be Democrat biased based on these institutions, these college institutions, which rely on government subsidies. The second thing that you got to look at is that the metrics that they're using are based on metrics from 2008 to 2012 under Obama, so you've got to do at least another 5 to 7 points. So we're looking at like a 12-point curve that is favoring the Democrats that you could go ahead and give the Republicans. And then the last thing you've got to consider is the fact that everybody buys the media narrative, which a lot of people don't, which actually helps Donald Trump outperform the metrics, which you got to give him another 5 to 6 to 7 point curve. So, you're looking at almost like a 25% fucking curve here that you got to give the Republicans. So with that being said, when you look at these states, particularly the states that are like really, really close in these Democrat polls, you're looking at a potential blowout, actually, of Donald Trump winning a lot more. And like I said, it isn't because everybody just loves Donald Trump. Some people do. A lot of people do love Donald Trump. But a lot of people just can't stand the Democrats. They can't stand the fact that their party has been basically, they've been kind of like authoritarians to their own fucking constituents. And this is where the constituents get even with them. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, you could probably migrate to the Republican Party because, like I said, I suspect the Republican Party to really take up the tradition, the position of being the true Democrat Party after this election. Which means, like, we do need to have another party, don't get me wrong, somebody needs to, but it needs to be more right, more conservative base, more cutting down government spending. Because I don't think that the Republicans are going to cut down government spending. They may go ahead and do the tax cuts, but that doesn't do very little until you cut the government spending. So with that being said, I don't know if a West Coast California politician is going to play well as a Democrat, as Reagan did, as a Republican to the East Coast. So we got Virginia coming up, and Virginia's really close. I'm going to go ahead and say that Virginia's going to flip. I got Virginia flipping. It was close. It was close under Biden. Harris, to me, they don't have a platform. If you're running, if you think that abortion is going to be the main issue that you're going to be able to justify rigging this election on, I'm sorry, it's just not enough. And we can tell by your media's popularity that you're not going to be able to justifiably end up doing what you did in the middle of the night, dropping a bunch of fucking ballots. That's not going to work. It's not. You're not going to get a civil war. The civil war is not going to fucking happen. You're going to get an actual insurrection, not a fake federal operation. FBI, what did they say? CIA was behind it in 2020? I don't know. I don't care. You're not going to get those people. You're going to get a whole bunch of pissed off motherfuckers that are going to be to the guillotine with these motherfuckers. And so, you know, I don't think that they're going to be able to rig it like they want to. I mean, I guess they could, but it would be incredibly dangerous. So now we go with New York. Now, New York is an interesting one. I think they have New York winning by 20. But like I said, the metrics are so fucking off. And I know at some point in time, like, Biden was losing a lot of support in New York. And I don't see where Kamala would gain that much support. And I actually really believe that New York could shock a lot of people. I know that at the beginning of it, but, you know, these people that are in these districts with these corrupt Democrats probably want answers. This is what happened to our district whenever we used to be a fucking blue state. This district used to be blue. Whenever people get tired of the corruption going on and hearing about the corruption and all these city executives going ahead, doing backroom deals, doing kickbacks and stuff, and your city is suffering for it, and your community is suffering for it. You know, oh yeah, your residential and your business areas and your well-traveled tourist areas are doing good, but your communities are shit. Well, they get tired of it and they end up voting these people out. And you know, you get in people that are going to actually invest in this. One thing I can sit there and say for the Republicans is that they do good by fixing their infrastructure. So you'll go ahead. I do believe that New York, with all of its Alexandria Nacho Cortezes in there, doing enough to go ahead and flip this state red. And so with that being said, if Virginia, Pennsylvania, and New York turns red, then I'm going to go ahead and put Maryland as blue, but I'm going to go ahead and flip Delaware red, New Jersey red. And the only reason I'm keeping Maryland as blue is that, yeah, it depends on a lot on the Virginia economy, but it also depends a lot on the D.C. economy. I think that the D.C. economy will go ahead and be able to, with Baltimore, we'll be able to keep Maryland blue. New Jersey will turn red. Connecticut could turn red. Rhode Island, I'm going to go ahead and sit there and say that they'll probably stay blue, just because I think that they're those type of people. I do think that maybe, perhaps, Massachusetts could flip. New Hampshire will flip, and Vermont will certainly flip. I'm pretty sure that New Hampshire and Vermont will certainly flip, meaning that more than likely the state of Maine will flip. You'll probably get a district for the Democrats, but I don't know. I doubt it. So once this happens, this causes a tsunami effect. This is what they call a wave election. Is that once you take this East Coast, where you can see right now, by the time that this would hit, the election would hit Illinois, it would already be over. Fucking, you know, Trump would have already won. This could probably embolden people. This would probably make a lot of the Democrats that vote the day of a little bit disgruntled. I think it would hurt Kamala with the day of voting, and I don't think a lot of Democrats in the Midwest and going into the West Coast are going to turn out. So I'll go ahead and keep Illinois. I keep hearing a lot of people sit there and say that this state could flip. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and flip it. I just think that it may just be enough if New York flips and Virginia flips and Pennsylvania flips and then all those swing states flip and it's already over. By the time it hits Illinois, this could actually go ahead and start an effect of going ahead and flipping states that would otherwise vote blue, which would be Illinois. So now we'll go into Minnesota, and you know what? I'm going to give Tim Walz his state. I'm going to go ahead and give Tim Walz his state. But then you come over here to Colorado, and you know, a lot of people already said that Georgia, Colorado, they've had federal interference in their elections ever since 2016. So I do believe that Colorado and Nevada all had federal interference since 2016 in their elections. So I'll go ahead and flip these states red. I think that this is going to be, you're going to see the true effects of Donald Trump's actual platform. Utah, of course, I don't know why I didn't have that one red. And Arizona will likely turn red. Unfortunately, here ends up being the issue with New Mexico. And I'm going to go ahead and keep New Mexico blue. It could turn red. And I've heard a lot of people sit there and say, yeah, it could turn red because of the border stuff. And it certainly could. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't turn red this election. But I'll go ahead and keep it blue because 85% of New Mexico is owned by the government. So, there yet again, you get a lot of the bureaucracy in there. More than likely, they're going to end up voting blue. So, we'll go ahead and give Kamala her home state of California. You know what I'm saying? However, I do see polls indicating that Oregon's going to flip. And, you know, that could very well be the case. Washington is going to be an interesting, and like I said, if New York flips, this is, in this case scenario, New York has to flip and Virginia have to flip. If New York and Virginia flip, which are the two most important states for a Donald Trump landslide, then this is going to be the scenario. Then you get Washington. And then, you know, with the Tulsi Gabbard effect, we'll go ahead and throw in Hawaii. Maybe Hawaii flips. And like I said, this is a mandate. This is not just a, we'll go ahead and give Kamala, what is that, the 2nd district? And then we'll give Kamala the, well, we'll go ahead and make that one blue. We'll give her one electoral each, and each of the two states where they separate, because normally one of those will go the opposite. But this is what I got right now. I believe that this is probably going to end up being much closer to a 1980s landslide, because the Democrat. If you're a Democrat, tell me what you're voting for. Other than you think that Donald Trump is a legitimate fascist, which you're a fascist already. You're a fascist. I mean, the Democrat Party are fascist. So what's the difference between one fascist or another? If he's a legitimate fascist and the Democrats are all fascists, then what's the difference of voting for one fascist to another fascist? That doesn't make any fucking sense. And so, I mean, you know, is it abortion? Because you're not going to get abortion overturned. That's not going to happen. I don't give a fuck what your politicians have been lying to you about. Explain how they're going to overturn abortion. Do you think that they're going to fucking codify it? They're not going to be able to codify the shit. They're not going to be able to legally and justifiably go ahead. And how are they going to even say that? How are they even going to fucking justify putting that up at all into the fucking? So no, they're not going to be able to do that shit. You would have to retry the whole damn Roe versus Wade case, and it doesn't matter. It's going back to the states anyways. So you can't, there's no justifiable argument that you have. So what are you voting for the Democrats for? And the answer, I can go ahead and save you, is nothing. So you might as well, if you don't have anything, if you don't have a reason why you're voting for the Democrats, you might as well send the Democrats a message. You know what I'm saying? If you plan on voting Democrat, you might as well send them a message and just vote against them. And then go ahead and consolidate your party, and then hopefully you can get some sort of ideas going in the Republican Party to where maybe you can go ahead and restructure the Republican Party. As for the true conservatives and the Republicans, they need to go ahead and start considering making another party with more conservative, balanced ideas. You know what I'm saying? that pertains to their issues without having to worry about being fucking politically correct for the left-leaning lunatics in your fucking party right now. And then, you know, you need to go out there and challenge them. It may take about 10 or 15 years for anybody to go ahead and catch on to the party's ideas. But the more successes that you have and the more people that you get in there and the more successes that you have going on into the economy and the more influence and the more people will go ahead and vote for this party. So, you know, and I don't even know what, like I said, I'm an anti-federalist, so an anti-federalist party. Less centralized government control, more power to the states. That's what I believe in. So that would be the party that I would probably aspire to be a part of. But with that being said, you people tell me what you think. What do you think is going to happen this election? You people like, sub, do the shit the internet tells me to do to get over. And for now, I'm out.